What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Weekly Geekly Podcast here on GeekSpeakNation. My name is Will Strickland. I am joined, of course, by my co-host, Daniel Hargrove. What is going on, Daniel?
How you doing?
We are here bringing you some more news, some more hot topics that have tickled our fancy that we think is worth discussing. So, as the last episode, ladies and gentlemen, as the last episode went, we're going to do 3 topics each. I'll be touching more on the video game side. Dan is going to be touching more on the movies. And we'll just bounce back and forth. I'll talk about a topic. He'll talk about a topic. And then we'll go into the collector's item of the week. And then we'll just talk about what we've been doing this week at the human side of the podcast for you.
That's right.
So let's go ahead and get right into this. The first issue we're going to talk about is probably one that all of you have already heard about in full, but we just think it's worth discussing. We're going to talk about the Counter-Strike Go gambling ring that was kind of, I guess, exposed a few days ago.
Yeah.
So there was a video posted by H3H3 Productions, which they have well over 1 million subscribers at this point. I really like their content. And Ethan, the host, his whole thing was that, because he's not necessarily a gaming channel, but he just thought whether you play games or not, you still know what gambling is, and you still know how it can be done very poorly.
Right.
And be done in a way that sets up for a lot of liability in your part. So basically what is happening with this story, and these are, of course, from a legal standpoint, accusations, but they seem pretty damn true. These 2 YouTubers, Trevor Martin, who is T Martin, and Tom Castle, who is Pro Syndicate, they've been on YouTube for quite a long time. They've been posting videos and live streaming of this Counter-Strike Go gambling website or lottery system called CSGO Lotto. And if you guys don't know what the CSGO gambling scene is like, in Counter-Strike Go, you unlock skins for your guns. Some of these skins are literally valued at like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 of like currency, like real money. So you can sell those, or you can gamble and try to win better ones. So there's been a bunch of websites popping up, and they started streaming and posting videos of them using this website. And of course, sometimes they'd win big, and the reaction would be so awesome.
Oh my
gosh! Oh my gosh! I can't believe I won! Whoa! And then comes to end up that they own the website. They own the website.
Yeah, they own shares in it.
They're gambling on. They own it. So, which makes it very, very easy. Now, there hasn't been any concrete proof of this happening, but it makes it very, very easy to accuse these 2 of rigging the system in their favor, of rigging a bet, so then they have something worth uploading to YouTube. Because if you're just gambling for an hour and you don't win anything, what kind of video is that? There's nothing entertaining about that.
Yeah.
So if you're winning, maybe a little bit here and there, and then you end with a big jackpot, that's entertainment. So H3H3 uploads this video, and it goes all over the internet. Total Biscuit ends up uploading a video talking about it too, and of course you got other big YouTubers giving their input. And another thing that's very wrong about this is that it's illegal per FTC regulations. If you have a sponsorship or business deal or something, you have to make it very obvious.
Yeah.
Whether that's at the beginning of your video, you say, hey, this video is brought to you by CSGO Lotto, or in your description, somewhere in there it says, I own CSGO Lotto, I'm partnered with CSGO Lotto, something like that. These 2 dudes had none of that. None of that. The business method they were using was deception, to imply that this was just a cool website that they found, and they're so cool that they just offered me a deal, but to get more people to check out the website, and they own the website. It's only benefiting them for people to check it out. So that's what's illegal about this. Now again, I think it will be hard to. That is illegal in itself. Now whether anyone's going to press charges, who knows? But if any concrete proof comes out of them rigging a bet or a lottery or a gamble, that's very illegal, because then that comes into stealing money. So the last thing that has come out of this, and I'm sure as soon as we hang up here, there'll be even more.
Yeah.
Trevor Martin, T. Martin, he posted an apology video yesterday, and it was very sincere because you could see through his glass front doors and his Range Rover parked out front and his, steel staircase with a flight right in the middle. Really sincere. It was about 2 minutes long. He said sorry. What did he say sorry for? He said sorry for not making it explicitly known that he owned the website. But he did not apologize for the deception.
Deceiving people, yeah.
Right. For the 5, 6, a year-long show he's been having where he just implies that this is just a cool website and I don't have anything to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course people didn't take kindly to that, so he deleted the video. He deleted his apology video. Now, the video, if you YouTube T. Martin apology video, it's been re-uploaded 100 times. What he says sounds like it's been written by his attorneys. Like, it sounds like his attorney sat down and said, you can say all of this and it will not bring any legal
there will be no
consequence.
legal repercussions, yeah.
Honestly, that's what it sounds like. It does not sound like this dude sat down and said, what can I say to regain my subscribers' trust? He sat down and said, what can I do to lessen a lawsuit?
So to me, it brings up what you talked about last week with this whole Activision versus Trek Industries. And it's the concept of, why are you going to do things on the internet that you know are going to come out eventually as the truth?
Right.
It's just,
right.
Why not just be forward with your subscribers? Why not be forward with your audience members and just say, this is a sponsored video? Why is it so hard? I really don't understand that concept.
Yeah. I mean, there is a bit of a negative stigma of people doing sponsored videos, but that's a very, very small minority. If those people are so upset that you're, making money and making a living off making content,
yeah,
that's their fault. There's nothing wrong about doing a sponsored video.
Nothing at all. Because it's just we're getting to see the content, so I don't see what the problem is.
Right. And, there were even points where one of the YouTube news channels, they questioned T. Martin previously about whether, what his relationship with this website is. And he said, well, they approached me and I made this video to see how my subscribers would react. And we ended up making a deal. But, this is a matter of public record. It's just you have to have a reason to check the public record. When they filed the business, their names are on it. They're Trevor Martin and Tom Castle. Those are the names as the owners. That's lying. That's deception right there. That's black and white.
Shame.
It's wrong.
Shame.
It's disgusting, honestly. So, like I said, there will be plenty to come out of this in the coming days. Syndicate hasn't posted a video yet. I can't wait to see that one.
It's just a lot of drama going on into YouTube sphere. All these things with Keemstar, Drama Alert, all these exposed, and it's really crazy going on. But I think it's good that the truth is coming out about what people are doing, and it's just, guys, be truthful. If you got something going on, let people know, or people are going to find out the hard way.
When it comes to the drama on YouTube, when it comes into invading someone's privacy, that really has no place. But when it comes to illegal business practices, absolutely these dudes should be put on blast.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So if there is anything worth talking about beyond this next week, we'll definitely bring it up. It seems like until any type of charges or lawsuits are brought up against them, if there are, it's not really newsworthy, I guess, because anything that comes out is already what we expect. So yeah, that's about it. Beyond that, these two dudes are just kind of scumbags. So Daniel, what's your first story?
Well, you know who's not a scumbag? Iron Man. And
that's right.
yeah, and so in the comic books, there's an event going on called Civil War II, because there's no such thing as cashing out on the same idea twice. And so essentially after the events of Civil War II, which is not finished, Iron Man, aka Tony Stark, is going to pass on, I don't know why I said it like that, pass on, he's going to pass on the mantle of Iron Man to a 15-year-old African-American teenager. So, female, by the way. And of course, the internet lost their minds over this. Now, here's the thing. Marvel made the mistake of releasing this information knowing that A, people usually don't do their research, and B, without enough information going on behind it. Because all they did was show a cover and just say, hey, Iron Man's going to be this young black teenager. So it's like, you knew people were going to react like that. It's like, it's just like, honestly, you just, Marvel at this point loves to make announcements just to make waves in the media without necessarily weighing the costs and the, you know, of what that actually is going to weigh on them.
The best kind of advertising is word of mouth. Just get people talking.
Yeah. So, but this change doesn't happen for a while. But one thing I wanted to bring up was that I think people are getting way too hasty about getting angry with Marvel creators over there, saying that, oh, there's a big shift going on for diversity, and they're just trying to appeal to minority groups. Women, African Americans, Hispanics, any type of minority group, they believe that there is a big shift going on forcibly at Marvel, because within the last year or two or so, I mean, we've had Black Spider-Man, we've had Thor is now a woman. It's Jane, his former partner. We have Falcon, aka the black sidekick to Captain America, becoming Captain America. So we have this shift going on where we're having roles of diversity being given to iconic superheroes that have existed for a long time. So, but one thing I wanted to point out to people is that the creator of this character, who's taking over for Iron Man, is Brian Michael Bendis. This guy wrote the character of Miles Morales. He wrote Jessica Jones. This guy knows how to give perspective to characters. He doesn't just write a character just because, oh, well, let's write a black character to appeal to people. They need another one. No, it's not like that. He's not the DJ Khaled of comic books. He is honestly trying to gain a different perspective. And he did an interview with MSN.com. And basically in this, he talks about how he went to Chicago to work on a TV show that never got on air. And essentially, he saw just a lot of violence and crime. And he wanted to create a character that was born in that environment, but was still able to overcome it. And that's why we have a 15-year-old black woman who is a genius level intellect, smarter than Tony Stark at his age. She's at MIT right now in the comic books. So essentially, out of all these things, what he's trying to do is feed off of what's happening right now in the comic books, and that's there's a lot of violence and uprising going on in Civil War II, and he wants to create a character that wants to stand up and uprise with that and go against the violence and stand up against the crazy things that's happening. Who doesn't in our generation want to do that? So I think people are just letting their prejudice show when they're making comments like, they already have Miles Morales, they already have Storm. Do you know how racist that sounds and that inherently is?
They already have their token black. Why do they need another one?
You already have a black. You don't need another one. Make a new black. Well, that's not the point. The point is to gain a different perspective of the mantle of a superhero and what it means to be that superhero with an entirely different character behind the mask. So that's what I think about it. What do you think about this kind of shift going on in more minority characters?
What do you think, or how would you respond to Stan Lee, who said in response to Spider-Man becoming the black character, instead of changing the character, just create a new character?
Well, we need both. We need both because we need fresh characters to invigorate the genre and create new icons for everyone to look up to. I think for a lot of comic book readers in general, like trying to find a character you relate to almost perfectly in almost every single aesthetic way is very hard to do. And it's like trying to find water. It's like trying to find that oasis in the desert. And so essentially with creating a new character, that does help solve that problem. But I think when you have a different character behind the mask, it really changes the way you look at that character. Like if you look at Spider-Man, you know, he was poor, white, grew up in Queens, and he struggled, but yet he knew that he always had to do the right thing. And then you take Miles Morales, somebody who comes from an impoverished background, but thanks to a grant, he's able to go to a better high school in a different part of town, and it deals with racial politics and then still trying to be a hero, but what does that mean? And how do you fit in? But when you put on that costume, everybody just sees an icon, an image, not the person, not the skin. So I think both lend very good perspectives, and both are definitely worth having.
So I guess a valid argument for this would be to say that people who have followed these characters for so long, they just don't want the character to change. And I think that's definitely a valid argument. So I guess it comes down to is Marvel, with their whatever current outlook they have on kind of their goals, do they want the superheroes? Do they want and if I say a superhero that's not Marvel, forgive me, but do they want the Iron Mans and the Spider-Mans? Do they want them to be Tony Stark as Iron Man, or do they want them to be the suit and the powers with whoever's inside them? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see the argument, and to a degree, I always sympathize with that, because Batman is my favorite character, and anytime they're like, guess what, Batman's probably dead and a new character has to take up the mantle, I'm like, no. But I subside that and just remember that these characters are mythological, and these characters are used to talk about subjects that are going on at the time. And if that requires them, in this case, to pass on the mantle to someone else for a time being, I don't see why not. Because if your dead horse is still printing money, why would you stop beating it? And with these characters, of course, Tony Stark is going to come back. Of course, Steve Rogers is going to come back. He did come back, and he is the whole fit super soldier again. And there's still Falcon is Captain America as well. So things will always return to the status quo in comic books. So that's why I say there's no reason to worry. But at the same time, I don't see what the issue is with trying to embrace a different story, because people have always done this. Even back in the 80s, when Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns came out, people were like, "My Batman, he's not as dark. He's out in the daylight and he's shaving people." Right. But it just all completely depends, and there are always going to be risks that are going to be taken. That's what you have to do when you have a genre like this that's been going on for almost will be soon to be 100 years. So,
Yeah, I had a
That's how I feel about that.
Last semester I had a philosophy of video games class, and it was really interesting. And about probably the last 3 weeks, we just focused on women in video games, minorities in video games, stuff like that, the industry and the games themselves. And one thing that I kind of took out of it was because it did start kind of, I never really took note of it, but I did start realizing how for some reason, the default video game protagonist is white. And I mean, I don't even necessarily know if there's a reason for it, or if that was just how it started and no one's taken the time to try to change it. But it is worth, that is worth noting. It's not a coincidence, And we started talking about how do you get more women to enjoy video games? How to get more blacks to enjoy video games? You know what I'm saying? And some of the people in class were saying, well, if you just make a black character, that's like pandering to the demographic. And I kind of see both sides of it. I mean, if you do it wrong, it really is just pandering. Yeah. If you're making a character and at the last minute you just add brown to the skin instead of like white. That's pandering. But if you're making a story that's, it's an awesome story, great character building and stuff like that, and the character happens to be black, that's a good way to do it. At that point, it's not pandering. It's just you have a black protagonist, and that appeals. And I think naturally it's gonna be easier to relate to a character if you see yourself physically in them. Yeah. And the best way to get more people to enjoy something is to get more people to relate to something. So I think we have to stop assuming that having a female protagonist, you're pandering to women. Because the only way, from a business perspective, the only way anything stays viable is if your market is more than, this demographic or that demographic. Your market has to be everyone. So in order for video games and comic books to forever stay viable, profitable, and creative, you need to appeal to everyone. And right now, I don't know if any medium is doing that. I think I'm looking at it just from like I want video games to be everyone to play video games. And the only way to do that is to give them a reason to try it, to jump in, and to relate. And if there's no reason, if I can't look at covers on a shelf for video games and I don't see any character that I like, I think that'd be interesting, I think I could relate to that, I have no reason to even try it. So in order, like I said, the only way for these mediums to always be relevant is to appeal to every market. You can't bottleneck yourself into a niche market. And if you can, then that story's got to be great, and the people in your niche have really got to be about it, and they've got to buy everything you put out. But that's going to be hard to keep up and to sustain. So I always try to look at stuff from a business perspective, and surprise, surprise, including other demographics is good business.
Really?
Yeah.
This is new to me.
Because guess what happens if Black America and Hispanic America and women, guess what happens if they like video games? That's like a whole new market of profit. There's more people buying your product. That's more money.
It improves the genre, I think.
Right.
It pushes people to make different things, to make just to push people creatively. And so
the best motivator is money, and if you've got 100 million more people interested, that's a whole lot more money coming in.
Thank you, Will. Thank you.
So that's what I gotta say on that.
Now with your topic.
All right, so the next topic, we're gonna talk a little about some anime, which I am by no means an anime fan. I don't read any manga.
Manga, yeah.
Manga. I don't read manga. I don't watch anime. But this last year at school, I kind of was introduced to it more because my roommate is a big anime fan. So he would always have stuff on, and I'd watch it every now and then. But the only anime that really piqued my interest was Attack on Titan. I just think the concept and the art style was really creative. So whenever he had that on, I always tried to watch because it was really interesting. I didn't realize at the time that there had only been one season released, because it seemed like all these animes had like 5,000 seasons with 40 episodes each. So I was like, wow, this is like endless content. But I didn't realize, that there was only one season, and the second season had just been delayed for so long. But it has since been confirmed that in early 2017 that second season is going to be released. So that's kind of relevant to the video game that's going to be coming out soon, the Attack on Titan game. And I'm assuming it's multi-platform. The article I'm reading only mentions PS4. Oh, no. PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PS3, Xbox 360. Yeah. They're still making games for last generation? Wow.
For some reason.
So really the only reason I want to bring this up isn't so much the game itself, just because it's just another game in development, but really just talking about if there's a viable market in the Western world for these anime to video game adaptations. Attack on Titan seems to have really, as someone who's not well versed in anime, I knew Attack on Titan before I saw the show. People talk about Attack on Titan, so it seems like that really has gotten a foothold here in America.
It has transcended between American audiences and Japanese audiences for sure.
Yeah. So going off of that, and then you look at Dragon Ball Xenoverse that came out last year, I believe, that did really well. I think in terms of sales and the reception by both critics and fans. Really, in the Western world, in Europe and America, do you think there's a market for anime to video game adaptations?
As someone who is super into anime and anime video games and played all those games you mentioned, there is. And it's kind of frustrating because a lot of corporations know that they do have that audience in America and that there is a popular audience for their content. But for some reason, there's a disconnect between publishers, whether it be the actual anime itself or video games based off those animes, to get this over to America with or without subtitles, without an English dubbed cast, which I don't really care about. It's either or for me. But essentially, there is a very strong audience. I think when you look at PlayStation Vita, the reason that there is still it still thrives in the marketplace and it still has somewhat of a pulse is because that so much of the audience loves the games that are made specifically and only in Japan, that you usually can only get in Japan, and that you have to get a PlayStation account, a Japanese one, and then buy it from there and then download it and things like that, and have to go through all this rigmarole to play a game you really are interested in. But the developers, not the developers, but the publishers are just like, well, we'll see next year about bringing this over. So yeah, I think there really needs to be like, hey guys, please pay attention to this. Like, people really, really care.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this really is a conversation about really Japanese games in general. And having them localized in the Western world, because PlayStation, they have like every year at their PlayStation experience, they always talk about that what's the hashtag they use, like hashtag building the list, and it's just games that fans are requesting that haven't been released over here from Japan, and they'll announce that like Yakuza 5 is finally coming over. Well, Yakuza 5 has been in Japan for 3 or 4 years, so it's like there's this really long gap between games in certain markets. And I guess, I mean, if it doesn't sell, it doesn't sell.
Right.
But when you've got enough fan requests to go out of your way to work with this developer to localize it to America, why not just make that a regular release? Whenever you release a Yakuza game, why not release it over here? I mean, maybe Yakuza. I may be saying it really American, but
no,
you know, whatever.
I think it's fine. But it's there's always this delay. There's always a delay when it comes to getting content over here. Like, they started a new Dragon Ball Z series. It started like summer last year. And it's like, 50-something episodes in. They're like, oh yeah, we're totally bringing this to America. English dub. No word of when that's actually going to happen.
Right.
And it's just
we're doing it.
And it's
we're
like,
doing it,
you know how big Dragon Ball Z is and how feverish the audience is in America? And like, we went to the theater to go see the last film, and we sold out and made such a big, highest record of whatever, of the sweatiest people in the theater. But but still, publishers are still just like, yeah, eventually it'll get there. But yeah, I think I think it also has to do with Western audiences being willing to try something different and being willing to be open. Like, we're the culture that still refuses to watch movies with subtitles for the most part. Yeah. So there's that disconnect as well.
Well, here's something on the Dragon Ball Xenoverse Wikipedia, just talking about the sales. So it released early February 2015. As of March 17, 2015, 1.5 million copies had been shipped worldwide. The game was the second best-selling for PlayStation 4 on the PlayStation Store for the month of February, behind Dying Light, a AAA highly anticipated game. And it was second place. In April 2015, Bandai Namco announced that more than 2.5 million copies had been sold. In February 2016, Bandai Namco announced that a total of 3.13 million copies had been shipped worldwide. So this game was not a niche game.
No.
This was a success.
Yeah, and
that was a million unit seller. That's a big deal for any game.
And for someone who played the game, disgusting amounts of time I put into that game. Yeah, the game is so much fun, and yeah, it has its flaws and things like that. But I'm so excited for the game, and there's so many people who are excited for the sequel, which comes out this year, and it's only gonna do better.
October 25th.
It's only gonna do better.
The release date. Yeah. So I just really wanted to mention Attack on Titan just to get a conversation about the PAL regions to the NTSC regions and bringing Japanese gaming to America, vice versa. And we didn't even get into the vice versa, but that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, I think that was a good conversation. I think there's definitely, just to wrap it up, I think there's definitely a demand for it. And if there is a way for them to streamline the product or the process to where there's not as much at risk for either the publisher or developer in terms of finances, I think they definitely start seeing that there's a viable market over here.
Definitely. So, to bring down the mood, let's talk about in 2012 there was a tragic shooting in rural Colorado. And gunmen came in and shot up audience members in the theater. And essentially, the victims of the families of the victims of the shooting decided that in their just grief and so much anger and sadness that yes, they would like to press charges against someone, and they decided to press charges against Cinemark, the theater in which it happened, and against the franchise itself. I don't know necessarily if it was for security protocols or things like that.
Right, I was going to ask if you knew what the lawsuit was for.
Yeah, because I don't know if they're specifically blaming them for security purposes, if that is the reason why.
Yeah, because when I first saw this, I was trying to think, okay, what's the grounds of the suit? And I couldn't, just without reading it, I couldn't figure out what it would be.
Yeah. So essentially what's going to happen is that, actually what happened is they went to court with everything, but at the end, the court ruled that Cinemark was not responsible for what happened. And legally, Cinemark has the right to file back a lawsuit against the families of the victims to pay the court costs and to pay the fees of what it took to take everything to court. And that cost is going to be $700,000. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And it's... The question for me really is, yes, sure, they have the right, but is it right? And the thing that got me was that Cinemark, whoever was a part of their public representatives, whatever representative came out and made the statement that they're considering it, is just completely idiotic for even mentioning that in public and bringing that out. It's just not right, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, the families were dealing with so much grief, and it's like, I understand that you want to seek some sort of compensation, some sort of justice in a sense, and try to seek something. No amount of money will ever bring back the void of having a loved one lost. And that's where I cut the family some slack of just, they went through so much. And so the lawsuit is done. It's just let's move on. But having the lawsuit come back against them, I just think that's just too far, and it only prolongs their grieving.
Well, I think, and I guess this is on us, we really should have looked at like the full extent of this lawsuit, because if it's a lawsuit against Cinemark's the company, then $700,000 isn't much. But if it's a lawsuit against the franchise or the location, that's that's pretty substantial.
Yeah.
And if that's money that's coming out of their, their fees and the money they have, I don't know. I mean, it's obviously hard to say we're gonna sue the families of people that were killed in the shooting.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're running a business and here's this chunk of money that
because $700,000 is not anything to just look over for anybody.
Right. So it is different if it's the franchise or the company as a whole. I would assume it'd be the franchise. I think that'd be very difficult to
go after the entire company for
with
their
a lawsuit like
possibly.
that. Yeah, and I think again, I think of everything from a business perspective, and sometimes that makes me cynical. I could see them saying, "Well, they sued us. Why not sue them?" Like if they thought they had grounds to file this suit, why would they be surprised when the court dismisses the case in our favor and we want the money back, Yeah,
because I've been looking up different articles, but I haven't really found on what grounds the families decided to sue.
Right.
But I know that Cinemark's grounds for suing back is based on that if there was a possibility for a settlement, or if there was some way that this could have been settled without having to go through the entire court process, and essentially the fees outweighed what could have been earned from them winning, or what could have been settled, then the person who was sued has the right to sue back for technically wasting the court's time and time and money, and also the time and money of the defendant.
Yeah, I confuse defendant and prosecution sometimes.
Yeah, I'm like Mr. Plaintiff-cution, I would like to protest.
So I think with stories like this, you do also have to understand when it comes to journalists and news sources, they need to make sure they're upholding their journalistic integrity. And when they write stories of this, because I've seen the headlines, Cinemark's planning to sue families of Aurora shooting victims. That headline, because a lot of people only read headlines. They don't read articles. They read headlines.
Yeah.
That headline makes it seem like there was no lawsuit to begin with, and Cinemark has found a reason to sue the families. And that's wrong. When you're writing a story,
it was bad.
When you're writing a story, and if you're not a editorial type website, if you are an ABC or a CNN, your job is to report the story. Your job is not to provide your opinion. So you need to make sure it is absolutely clear that this is in response to a previous lawsuit, and that your headline cannot even imply Cinemark is maliciously attacking these families. Like, these families, they're still grieving, and Cinemark's just out of the blue decides to sue them. No, this is in response to a legal lawsuit. They have the legal right to countersue, and it's a matter of fees at this point. So I mean, journalism has gotten kind of wishy-washy with the internet. I mean, just in terms of how often do you read an article now and you see a typo? It's like, can you not pay for an editor on your website? So it's just like, in terms of credibility and integrity and journalistic ethics, I mean, there's a lot that's kind of been forgotten. And when you're reporting a story, if you're a credible news source, you report the story. You do not report your opinion. You do not create a narrative. You're reporting the facts. And there's been too many headlines that right off the bat, Cinemark is just attacking these people. How terrible.
Clickbait is a disease.
Right. Right. And maybe the first sentence when you open an article in response to a lawsuit, they're considering countersuing. But just the fact that that headline even implies it, that's wrong.
And I also think it's up to Cinemark's team, their PR team, to get in front of everything and say, hey, we're doing this because of this, and this claims were made. And it's just like, I don't think Cinemark is handling this very well at all.
Yeah.
Trying to combat this. So, wow, it is a messy situation, a very messy situation for Cinemark and for the families involved.
Definitely. Well, my third story, third and final, we're going to be talking about Pokemon Go here. That is the game that released yesterday. It's been in beta for a while, and it was released in some other international markets prior to yesterday. But this is the game where it's an augmented reality based on your GPS, and it's one of those things where you point your camera in front of you, and the game superimposes the game world. So ideally, I mean, the link that will be in the description, the first picture you see, this dude's walking on a sidewalk, and he looks down below this tree, and there's a Charmander looking at him. That's what it is. It's augmented reality. And this is a big deal. One, because this is Nintendo's first real attempt at a game on mobile. They released Miitomo, which was whatever. You had your Miis on a phone, and the Miis did funny stuff.
Boo.
This is like their first. I mean, granted, this is the Pokemon company, but this is Nintendo. Obviously, has something to do with it. This is their first real endeavor. So that's based on this. We'll see more coming out from Nintendo. I don't think we're gonna see Mario Kart mobile. I hope we don't see Mario Kart mobile, but we could start seeing some more mini game based, maybe Mario Party, stuff like that. But really, the most important thing that I want to talk about this with Pokemon Go, because it's this augmented reality based on a already famous IP, Pokemon. Everyone knows Pokemon. I also, maybe it's correct to pronounce it like this. I hate when people say Pokémon. Pokémon. They say it like that in the show. It's like, coming up on Pokémon. Like I said, that may be correct.
Who's that Pokémon?
It may be correct to say it like that. I don't care. I'm going to say it the way I want to say it. So, based on, obviously people are going to play this. That's not an issue. But when the dust settles and we look at the game from a critical standpoint, if it turns out that this is a success, do you think that we'll see other IPs attempting these augmented reality games, like these AAA, like huge mammoth IPs trying to go mobile?
Yeah, because I think we'll definitely see a Konami Metal Gear Pachinko virtual reality game. It's going to be very, very engaging. But yeah, I think if it catches on well, I think you're definitely going to see a new trend start up in mobile gaming. And then we can see the articles pop up of, is the gaming genre dead because of mobile games?
Right.
But no, I think this is a very interesting feat when it comes to gaming, and even though it's kind of dangerous, because some people will be like walking across the street just staring at their phone, and some people, I forgot where it was, where they're like, you don't actually have to come into the police station to go to the police station in the game.
If you guys don't know what he's talking about, there is some local police station somewhere in America where I guess for some reason their location, there's Pokemon that always spawn there, so they had to post to Facebook, you don't have to come inside. You can just be on the property to get the Pokemon.
Yeah, I think it's really awesome. I think it's a really fun thing. And I've never really been into Pokemon, to be honest. It wasn't really my thing. I was more of a Yu-Gi-Oh kid, if it was a card game we were talking about. Yeah.
One of those.
Yeah. You activated my trap card! Even though I couldn't really play, I was just like, he does ultimate damage. But essentially, yeah, I think it's a really good idea, and it'll be interesting to see what other developers would be able to do with it.
Yeah.
What other virtual reality things.
I think also we're going to have to look at this from a technical standpoint. Like, I just feel like this is going to kill your battery.
Oh, yeah, God, yeah.
And I feel like it's going to, like, if it's using data, like, oh my God. You're gonna use your plan in a day.
You need to have unlimited,
right?
Or you are screwed.
Right. So, I mean, I think when I googled Pokemon Go, I saw one of the first options: how to make Pokemon Go not kill your battery. The game's been out for like 12 hours.
Yeah, like my phone, like I can't even open YouTube and watch it, like show my friends like a music video without me dropping 10% over 3 minutes.
Right.
So I don't know what type of tablet you would need to play the game and make sure you have sufficient battery.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see how moving forward, like companies are going to optimize phones for gaming experiences.
Exactly.
Not just like, oh, you can download more apps, but like, no, like getting real serious, like, hey, we're putting hardware in this that's going to make it easier and uses less battery, better viewing efficiency. So it'll be really interesting. I think it's going to open a good door for gaming.
Definitely. I think you bring up a good point that I think not only the hardware developers, but the software developers as well, the more they use the technology, the more they'll be able to optimize it. So maybe in a month or two, Pokemon, they'll release a patch that whatever they do, it doesn't drain your battery as fast. And maybe if this becomes something popular enough, not only with gaming when it comes to augmented reality, because augmented reality has always been around. I mean, I don't know anyone that an app they use actively uses augmented reality. But if this becomes a big thing and there's a bunch of apps, both games and, just entertainment in general, maybe educational ones too, that use it, maybe these software developers are going to band together and try to talk to the network providers and try to figure out how to get a deal with the data consumption.
And I assume this is extremely expensive to make. So I think we're not going to get like some guy from Idaho makes his version of it with Drake or something like that, and Drake's face pops up and it's like views. So I don't think you're going to get into the situation of people flooding the market with crappier versions. Because I think it's just going to be way too expensive to try to mimic. Yeah,
I mean, you're using GPS technology. I'm assuming the developers have some know-how of satellites and like GPS.
Yes.
So I think such is the case of a lot of mobile games. Temple Run, when that game got popular, the next day there were however many.
Was endless running.
Right, and then when Flappy Bird was popular, you had 1 million Flappy Birds. So I think you bring up a good point. I don't know if this market's going to be as saturated after today with augmented reality animal hunting games or creature hunting games.
Right. Before we get into the next topic, I do have to say there is an amazing version of Flappy Birds where you play as Meek Mill and you try not to catch an L from Drake and you have to dodge the L's, and it's literally one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
I have seen that.
It's pretty amazing. But thank you, Will, for that hopeful and entertaining topic. Now, moving back into the topic of race in media, we're going to talk about Ghost in the Shell. It is an anime that is well known and is quite possibly my favorite anime of all time, and is being adapted into a motion picture. That's right, kids, get your tickets today. Not really, it's still in production. And in this production, the lead character of Major Kusanagi, am I pronouncing that right? I don't want to. Yeah, Kusanagi. Yeah, Major Kusanagi. Is just going to be called The Major and will be portrayed by Scarlett Johansson. Yes, that beautiful white lily that we all know and love as Black Widow. Isn't that all an ironic sentence? So there was a lot of controversy when this was first announced, and which was 3 months ago, about her being in the role and the production starting up. And now the producer of the film, by the name of, drumroll, not really, Stephen Paul, has been coming up and told SourceFed in an interview, quote, "I think everybody is going to end up being really happy with it. They're going to be very, very happy with it when they see we've actually done with it, and I don't think anybody's going to be disappointed," unquote. Wow, what a great quote to give 3 months later after the fact. And he also follows that by saying that, quote, actually, no quote on that, but that this is going to be a more international story as the original anime was. Because in case you didn't know, Ghost in the Shell takes place in the future and is about a group of, government detectives in Japan, made of predominantly Japanese people working on cases in Japan. So it's very international, specifically in Japan. So I see where he's completely getting this international approach from. But granted, what a lot of people have been saying is that this is a classic case of whitewashing, where you take a predominantly and popularly known minority character and cast an actor of European or English or a white guy and or white girl. And essentially, this is a tricky situation. I think actually people shouldn't be as up in arms about it. A big complaint we have, like when we were talking about in our earlier topic, is bringing over Asian and Japanese culture into America and making it popular and embracing it. And Ghost in the Shell is such a big and popular and amazing series, and bringing this over in a movie format is great. But the thing is, the IP of Ghost in the Shell isn't that well known, and isn't like, oh, everybody, like some guy in Kentucky who owns a coffee shop is probably not going to know about Major Kusanagi trying to go, soul surfing. So essentially, what needs to happen with films like this is you need to put on talent. You need to put on names that are going to draw in people. Right. And Scarlett Johansson, with her fine self, is the highest grossing actress in the box office right now out of any actress, in history. And so she is literally the biggest female name they could have gotten besides Jennifer Staleboard Lawrence. And I really think that they made a good choice with casting Scarlett Johansson. She is an amazing, competent actress, and we need her to bring this story to life. And apparently they really believe that the story they have for this film is really good. So I say give it a chance. And whitewashing is a double-edged sword, because in certain cases you need it to get the film off the ground, because that's just the way our industry works. And at the same time, it's bad because, there's probably an amazing Asian actress who missed out on the role of a lifetime.
Right.
So it's a double-edged sword, but it's important for everyone to know that if you don't like the way the system is, it's your fault, because not enough people.
You buy the tickets.
You're buying the tickets, and you're not showing the market with your money that we want more foreign films. We want more foreign IPs. We want to bring over different things. You're not going to go see Ghost in the Shell, the animated movie, when it comes to theaters. You're not doing the right things. You're not supporting foreign films. So I'm not saying that's everybody. That's not everybody. But as a collective, if we want change, we have to work together to see a change in that industry, because the movie industry is just doing what's profitable for them.
Right. I think it's important to not... Every case of these international IPs having the white actors, not every case is the same. I think there is that recent subpar movie, Gods of Egypt. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, where everyone was white and it was in Egypt.
Same thing with Exodus, Gods Among Us. Moses was played by Christian Bale.
If the movie had been good, then maybe it'd be a little more justifiable. But from my understanding, the movie was as average as it gets in terms of... I mean, it was like Gladiator, and everything since then has kind of seemed like Gladiator in a way. But, I mean, what you just talked about, just because they changed from the Japanese protagonist to Scarlett Johansson, it's not because they didn't want a Japanese actress. It's because this is an IP they're trying to build in a new market, and the best way to do that is to get recognizable talent. Scarlett Johansson is very recognizable. Very recognizable.
For miles
various
away.
Reasons. And I think with cases like this, where it is genuine, and I'm not saying that it doesn't happen where they cast white people just because it appeals to more people, because white people are the majority. Percentage-wise, there's more chance of them seeing it, blah, blah, blah. I think in cases of this where there's a genuine, valid reason to replace the nationality of the character in this already built narrative with someone of a different background, it's important to realize that it's not... I don't think it's malicious. I think people think there's malice behind it when they're making these decisions, when it does seem like it's just genuine business. And if anything, it's only going to benefit Ghost in the Shell fans. Because if this movie does well with Scarlett Johansson, then that's the possibility of a TV show or an animated film entering the theaters where it goes back to that Japanese character. And people, when you're adopting these IPs, the new markets, you've got to give and take. You've got to give and take. You're not going to get a perfect adaptation. It's not going to happen because there's facets of Japanese culture that are strange to American culture and the same back and forth. In order to adopt this so that the American market wants to watch it, you got to change some things. And if that means making a recognizable, famous actress that everyone in America knows being the star, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
And another thing, not to get too nerdy about it, but Meiji Kusanagi, she's a cyborg. Her consciousness is transported into different bodies. So really, the race of her body doesn't really matter. Because at the end of the day, it's just about her consciousness. But that's just me getting super nerdy.
Right.
Anywho,
and then something else I want to bring up. This isn't... Sometimes when these racial issues come up, people's... they use the argument, well, what if it was a white person? What if it was a black person? Blah, blah, blah. And that takes away from the core of the argument. But I think in this case, if they had changed the Japanese actress to a black actress, would it have been an issue? And I don't think it would be. If it was a recognizable black actress, I think it's the same as having Scarlett Johansson do it. If you had a black actress, as long as she's gonna do the role well, and if she's gonna make fans of the story proud, it really doesn't matter.
And we did have that backlash of casting a known white character black with the latest Fant 4 stick, as I like to call it, because that's the way the logo said. But Fantastic Four, with that film, they casted the Human Torch as Michael B. Jordan, a black actor.
Right.
And the internet lost their minds, as it does. But he is a terrific actor. My God, have you seen Creed?
He's great.
So I think he did a great job in the role, but the movie was just garbage, literally. Like, I looked in the trash and I saw a copy of the film.
I don't see many movies. But my girlfriend and I went to a drive-in, and that happened to be the movie they were showing. Oh my God. That was bad. That was so bad. And I don't know anything about Fantastic Four. I recognize the characters. I knew their powers. And if this was my first experience with Fantastic Four, and I don't want another, that was bad. That was a terrible movie.
Oh my God!
If I remember correctly, the final battle with the enemy was about 5 or 10 minutes.
Yep.
And it just kind of.
Yeah, it just kind of happened.
It was
They're like, we gotta use all of our powers at the same time.
I was like, oh wait, they're fighting him now. Oh, he's dead. Oh.
So that's how that movie went. But yeah, guys, race happens. I don't really know how else to sum that up. But essentially, yeah, guys, it's whitewashing. It's a double-edged sword. If you wanted to change, well, you got to go out and support those different genres. Yeah. You got to support the content from overseas.
And something I kind of thought of yesterday, and we've had a lot of racially relevant issues in this episode because there have been recent events that really do make you address racism. And I think a big issue is that a lot of people, for two reasons, people don't want to admit that racism is an issue in America. One, they assume that if you say racism exists, it's implying guilt, that they have been racist. And there's some hope that comes out of that, because that means people still know it's bad to be racist. They don't want to be labeled a racist. And the second reason is probably they're just embarrassed that their country still suffers from this problem, and they don't want to admit it, because it's you think this would not be an issue by now, It's just one of those things that would just die out with generations,
You'd think, but I don't know. To me, it's a mentality that is passed down.
It just exactly.
And that is part of the issue as well. And the breeding of hatred on the internet and just how easily an instant vitriol can come out of somebody is disturbing.
Yeah.
And I think we've forgotten that line between reality and the virtual world that we've constructed for ourselves. I think we've forgotten the line between our viewpoints and sharing them with people in a constructive way. And then the line between, this is the internet, I can say what I want, it's the First Amendment right to say what I want. So, yeah, I think we've really blurred the line between what is sharing your opinion and what's being inconsiderate. And yeah, you have the right to be that way, but we also have the right to tell you to shut the F up. So it's both ways. I just think as a people, we need to be more conscious. And we need to be not necessarily as reactionary, and that's for everything. When it comes to the way we react to a black character in a comic book, to the way we react to when we see a video of a shooting. I think we need to do our research. We need to analyze what is happening, what has happened, and formulate an honest opinion and not get too carried away.
Right.
And stay focused and try to stay positive as much as we can, as hard as
Definitely.
it is.
It's hard to have a intelligent discussion about issues when you're nitpicking issues that don't really matter. Changing a Japanese character to Scarlett Johansson. I don't think that is an example of racism. I think you need to focus on legitimate cases, because that is what solving those issues is what will solve the problem as a whole. I mean, nitpicking these issues when it comes to movies and comic books, I think it's kind of taken away from the core of the argument.
Completely agree. Well, Will, that concludes the news.
What better way to segue from racism than talking about Super Mario Bros., right?
Yes.
So in this week's Collector's Item of the Week, we have something. You like that?
I did. That was a great segue.
We have from Think Geek. We have a Super Mario Level 1-1 poster set that's exclusive to Think Geek. It is 15 feet long, 180 inches. It is a set of 5 posters where when you put them all from left to right, you have the entire first level of Super Mario Bros. That infamous, recognizable level. Even with the start menu, 1-player, 2-player, all the way to Bowser's Castle. So if you put these up from one to the other, you would have the entire level right up on your wall. It's $13, which is very reasonable for what this is. So. There's some posters that go for, $5-10 a piece. You're getting 5 posters for $13, which granted, having only one of these posters really doesn't make sense.
No, not at all. Especially like a middle one.
Right. You had the one, like this one has 2 Goombas and a pipe. Not much relevance to that one.
No, not at all. Like, no, this one really speaks to me. That's why I only got this one.
When I was at this point in the game, it was Christmas. I remember snow falling. I remember this, man.
I remember my family.
No one has childhood memories of 2 Goombas and a pipe.
That sounds like a euphemism, Will. Good.
It's not,
good
I
stuff.
assure you.
All
so anyways,
right,
this link is going to be in the description if you want to check it out, if you want to buy it. Daniel, what do you think about this poster set? I think this is pretty cool.
I think it is pretty awesome. Yeah, because I've been looking at my wall lately since I came back from college, and I was like, I really don't have much. I have like a poster for Arkham Origins, and then like a name tag I got signed when I went to Heroes Con from Dean Tripp. Yeah, I need to spruce up that wall, and that looks like the perfect thing to do it with.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, when I move into my dorm, because I'll be in a dorm, but I'll have the room to myself. I really want to decorate and kind of make it feel like more than a dorm. Make it feel like a home. And definitely, like, I got this Fallout 4 poster that my girlfriend got me before Fallout came out. So I guess that's 8 or 9 months ago. And it's framed and everything. I just haven't put it up. And I definitely want to put that up, and from there put up like some flags of my school, and I have a Dishonored poster, which I've always really liked, and like
Nice.
the Skyrim world map and the Borderlands 2 world map. So I'd like to decorate my room, and some just posters like this, especially because I think it'd be kind of cool to maybe put with this Mario set, put 2 posters on one wall, 1 on the other, 2 on the other, stuff like that. Kind of wrap it around. I think that'd be cool. Or maybe put it in a corner, so it's like 2 on one side, 3 on the other. Abstract art. You know what I'm saying?
Fabulous. Live life.
So that is a collector's item of the week, ladies and gentlemen. Super Mario Level 1-1 poster set from Think Geek for $13. Daniel, what have you been doing this week? What have you been watching, playing, reading, eating, breathing,
bathing? You ain't know. Besides,
what you been doing?
Besides watching people get just terribly murdered on Twitter.
Ain't no thing.
Yeah, because it just happens all the time, unfortunately. Moving into less controversial topics, I've been watching a little show on AMC called Preacher. Now, this show is based off of the graphic novel by the same name, and I highly recommend this show. It's going to be on its 7th episode coming up this Sunday. But I have to put out a disclaimer. If you are easily offended by something that tackles the topic of religion, this is not the show for you, because it is quite the blasphemous show. Essentially, the concept of the comic book is that there's this preacher named Jesse Custer in Texas who gets possessed by this power called Genesis. And basically it's born of an angel and a demon, and basically it gives the wielder the power to whatever they say a person must do. So
it's like Ella Enchanted. Remember that movie with Anne Hathaway?
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, except much darker and sadistic and bloodier.
Are you sure?
Oh, I'm sure.
There was a fight scene in Ella Enchanted. She got flipped into like a barrel or something. I don't know.
That movie is really good. That is a really good movie, man.
It's a funny movie. Go ahead.
I'm loving Preacher because it is something unique I have never seen before. It is so dark and just cynical, yet at the same time it's somewhat hopeful in an odd way,
right.
And it has this dark, disgusting sense of humor that it's so funny at the same time. And the show is literally insane, but it is so good. And the way they tackle the topic of God and religion is very, very interesting. And essentially, the crux of the comic book, which we'll get into the show, is that Jesse finds out that God quit being God after a certain point, and he goes on a road trip with his friend who's a vampire and his person who was once his ex-girlfriend to go find God. And it's such a simple yet interesting yet blasphemous yet crazy concept, and I just really, really enjoyed the show, and I think it's definitely worth watching, and it's so unique.
Yeah.
And it has a great theme song.
Anything having to do with religion has always been very interesting to me, so that's definitely a show that I'll add to my list of 100 shows I need to watch.
So many shows. So yeah, that's the main thing I've been kicking it with, man. Preacher on AMC.
What was the best food you ate this week?
Best food I ate this week? Oh God, that's because 4th of July weekend was this week.
Oh hell yes,
because Monday counts as that. So I gotta go with my mom's macaroni and cheese. It was bomb man. With that Velveeta cheese. With that Velveeta cheese, what you know about Velveeta? So yeah.
So this week I was up in Virginia on a family vacation, seeing family up there and celebrating the 4th of July weekend. Right outside of DC, so that was kind of cool. The fireworks got rained out, so we just stayed and do our own thing, so we didn't get to see any fireworks. We got to see some in the distance from the porch, but anything spectacular. In terms of technology and entertainment, I realized that my iPod is broken. I thought it was my aux cord, so I bought a new one, but I accidentally sent it to my school P.O. box. So it's been sitting there for about a month now.
Oh.
So I got something to look forward to when I move in. I can go get my aux cord.
That is true.
So I've had to listen to 95.1, which is like pop, 96.1, which is, I've realized the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, driving around. So I've heard about 10 songs over the course of 30 hours while listening to the FM radio. So I ordered a new iPod, the iPod Nano 7th generation, because I don't use my iPod for anything other than music. So I just need the small thing. It was $80. So I got that new one. I ordered a new kind of budget gaming laptop from Dell. It's the Inspiron 7000 gaming series. And it has a hybrid hard drive, which is what I'm the most excited about. So it has solid state drive capabilities, so it'll boot up Windows really fast, and when you're playing games, it'll load really fast, which is cool. But I got it. I mean, definitely I'll play some games on it. I've never been able to play PC games just because I've never had a PC that can run it. But this definitely won't be a high end. I'm not playing Witcher 3 on max settings on this thing. I'll play games if they're on sale. I'll buy a game or two on this. This laptop is mainly just for video editing, because with my my major of study, I'll definitely start getting some video projects that I'll have to do. So I want to make sure that it's running smoothly. And ideally, this new laptop can also simplify streaming and making videos, making that an easier process, so I can start posting a lot frequently. And the few times I did stream, I really loved it. So I definitely want to get back into that.
Dude, that's awesome, man.
Yeah. And other than that, really nothing. Still haven't gotten any chances to play any games. Haven't been reading anything.
I just platinumed Infamous.
Oh, I platinumed that game,
Yeah, you did for the show. For the channel.
Yeah. I platinumed the first Infamous. For some reason, I played like 2 hours of Infamous 2. I just couldn't get into it. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I need to go back to it, but I don't know. I just couldn't get into it.
Second Son was my first Infamous game, and I played it when it first came out a little bit, but I'd never known what the story was, and I just beat it last week.
Yeah.
No, not last week. Last night. Yeah, last night. And I beat it. I platinumed the game in about a week.
Second Son was a great game, really good. I don't know if was it a launch game or a launch window.
It wasn't really. It was a launch window because it came out about 3 months after the.
But I think it did a good job of kind of showing this is what the PS4 can do. So imagine what we'll be able to do in a few years.
Yeah,
but I think it did a good job of showcasing it.
The Evil playthrough was garbage. The story was just so. It was so forced. He was just like. He's like, oh, wait, we got to make him evil. How evil can he be?
Right.
It's like, what if there's a person on the ground asking for help and he just kills them for no reason?
Yeah.
What if there's another person who also has superpowers that he's been defending this whole time and he needs help because he's getting ganged on by a mob of bigots? He kills them.
Yeah.
Like, who wrote this? And the ending is just ridiculous.
I always play games when they let you choose your path. I always play them good to begin with because I like to think this is what I would do in this situation, and then I go back and play evil because then I have no mercy and no guilt because like I've done the good deeds, so I'm gonna do evil now. And when I did the infamous Second Son Let's Play on the GeekSpeakNation channel, I did the evil playthrough, and I did notice the story was not nearly as solid as the good playthrough. Which isn't that great when you give them the option to be good or bad, but one is better than the other, like yeah. But that was a good game. Infamous, the first Infamous is a fantastic game. Infamous Second Son is fantastic. Infamous 2, eventually I gotta try that again, but
one day.
So that's really all I was doing. Best food I had this week was probably my Aunt Sharon's potato salad. That was good.
I'm not a potato salad man.
Oh man. See, I like potato salad.
Potato salad, chicken salad's not my life.
A lot of potato salad has like a lot of mustard and pickle in it, and I ain't about either of those. Hell no. But my Aunt Sharon, she hook it up. She know what she's doing.
Bet. Bet on share, hook it up, fam.
So that's really everything that I've done this week. That is everything you've done this week. Daniel, do you have anything else to add to this episode before we wrap it up?
Well, guys, for our second episode, I do have to say, boy, did we cover some hot topics.
We cover some ground.
And, as always, guys, we would love to hear what you guys have to say on the subjects. And hope you guys enjoyed the new way that we're cutting up and putting out the content and having the content in a unlisted first. So
definitely let us know how you think about that instead of just only releasing the full episode, splitting up the good discussions, and then uploading the full episode. Definitely let us know what you think about that.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, guys, just thank you so much for the support, guys. Almost at 1,000. We're at like 920 something.
Creeping towards 1,000.
Creep.
But yeah. Creep. So thank you guys so much for listening. Like Daniel said, we are creeping steadily but surely towards 1,000 subscribers, and that would be an awesome milestone for this channel. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. As always, leave us any comments or feedback, discussion, any recommendations for stories you'd want us to talk about next week. Go ahead and leave those in the comments. We will definitely consider everything you have to say. This has been the Weekly Geekly Podcast, Episode 2. My name is Will. This is my co-host,
and I'm
Daniel Hargrove.
Yeah. I was like, I'm so sorry.
So thank you guys for listening. We'll be back next week, so hopefully we have as well of a discussion, as intelligent of a discussion as we did this week. So, hope you guys have a fantastic day, and we'll see you next time.